Facebook. Ryan, thanks for the tip. I want a selfie with all you guys, so look as though you're pleased to see me, okay? Okay, wave and go crazy. Hey! Awesome, thanks for that. So, good morning. I've got a quick 10 minutes to run through with you the 6 deadly sins of negotiation. Who here in business is negotiating on a daily basis? Show of hands. Yeah, okay. And who in their home life is negotiating on a daily basis? Yeah, right. Look, everybody negotiates, and you negotiate far more than you think you negotiate, and that's part of the problem. It is one of the sins, and I'll talk about that more in a moment. Who here has got teenagers in the room? Show of hands. Okay, you're really going to enjoy this presentation because it's actually finally going to give you the opportunity to have the upper hand when you're negotiating with your kids. Teenagers are probably the best negotiators on the planet, but their experience is limited, and that gives us an advantage. So my background is largely sales and marketing, and for 15 years in tourism and hospitality, I was travelling the world negotiating contracts with airlines and hotels and ground operators, and I learned a fair bit about negotiation over that time, which has stood me in good stead. So in terms of the negotiation environment, all too often we look at negotiations as an opportunity to do a deal, yes? It's about the deal. Well, it's not about the deal. It's about the relationship, because in the 21st century, relationships drive business, not deals. And if you're going into a negotiation just thinking about the deal, then you're self-focused, and that doesn't build relationships. As a matter of fact, it erodes them, and it erodes them pretty quickly. So when we're talking about negotiation, it's not about the deal. It is about how do we get what we need and give the other side an opportunity to get what they need. Because if we go into it just thinking about us, that's going to come across pretty quickly. It's going to be harder to do the deal. And the next time you go in to do a deal with these guys, they're going to be more resistant. So it's about trying to build relationships. It's not about trying to compete. You miss opportunities when people just think of you as a transactional partner rather than a business partner and friend. Erodes relationships. Not the best way to do negotiations. However, when the relationship's not important, so this is a once-in-a-lifetime thing, you're never going to do business with these guys again, get the best deal that you can, because the relationship's not that important. Although don't lose sight of the fact, and we're all evidence of this, the power of referral. You might not do another deal with that person, but they might be able to refer you to others. So always bear that in mind. What we're trying to do with negotiation is collaborate. We need to work together to get an outcome that both of us are happy with. It doesn't mean to say you have to get everything that you wanted, but you do need to get everything that you need, and you need to give the other side the opportunity to achieve the same thing. So it's about exploring how can we do this deal together where both of us end up winning and our relationship grows as a consequence. This builds trust, grows relationships, and is the best way long-term to do business. Because this is the way that you get people talking about you in a positive way to other people who you can do business with. So let's have a look at these 6 sins and how to avoid them very, very quickly. Number 1, failure to identify the situation. And I spoke about that at the outset. Often we don't realise we're negotiating. We are negotiating, and pretty much any time you have a conversation with somebody where they're trying to get you to agree to something or change your mind over something, that's an opportunity to negotiate. Hands up those people in the room that have had a conversation with a colleague, a family member, a child, and 20 minutes after the conversation's over, you've thought, why did I agree to that? Why did I say yes? Happened? Yeah, definitely. Because you were actually in a negotiation, but you didn't know it. The other person did, but you didn't. And that means you're going to come away with a less than optimum outcome. So sin number 1, be aware that probably 80% of the conversations you have are opportunities to negotiate. Whether you decide to take that opportunity up or not is totally dependent on you. But recognise that when you've got the opportunity, if it's appropriate, negotiate. Number 2, lack of planning. Now, there are 2 types of negotiations, formal and informal. My definition of a formal negotiation is any negotiation that goes into your calendar. If somebody's set up an appointment with you to talk about something, and especially in business, it's not just going to be a conversation. It is going to be an opportunity to negotiate an outcome. So the moment that goes into your calendar, you've got to start planning. What do they want? Why do they want it? What do I want? What do I not want? These are the sorts of questions you ask yourself in the planning process. Probably 70% of negotiations fail because the people haven't planned effectively. And an indication of a failed negotiation is when you walk away with no deal. That only happens because you've not planned properly. It's not because they wouldn't say yes, it's because you didn't find a way to get them to say yes. So it's your responsibility, not theirs. So with formal negotiations, always undertake planning. With informal negotiations, these are the ones where people run into you, tap you on the shoulder, the phone rings. Can we talk about? Need to talk to you about this, or can we meet and discuss, whatever. So these informal negotiations are harder to plan for because you've not got a crystal ball when somebody's going to tap you on the shoulder. But if you take the opportunity to plan when you have the formal negotiations, it sets up a pattern of planning in your mind. So when you're on the spot, in the moment, and somebody says, let's have a chat, you can quickly run through your mind. Okay, I need to find out this, I need to find out that, I need to make sure I don't agree to something that I can't live with going forward. Accepting power perceptions. Power in relationships is an intangible. It only exists in our head. It's not something you can grab hold of. And power perceptions in a lot of negotiations are warped. Who's ever been in a job where you've gone to the boss to ask for a pay rise? Yep. There's an opportunity for negotiation. I'm going to go in, I'm going to ask for a pay rise. But who's in control of that conversation? Well, most times the employee thinks it's the boss that's in control. But the reality is, if the boss says, yes, let's talk about that, now we're going to negotiate. Power in negotiations is equal at the start. You're on equal terms. Because if they were as powerful as you thought they were, or think they are, they wouldn't need to negotiate. They would just say, Glenn, this is the way it is, mate. You've got to do it. That's it. Very few people have got that sort of power. And certainly even fewer of the people we're engaging with have that sort of power. If you think somebody is more powerful than you, you're right, because the thinking of it makes it so. So you've got to be able to change your mindset around power. This is where using tactics in negotiation is really, really important, because tactics alter perceptions of power. Now, I've not got time to go into all the different tactics that they are, but I have a top 20 tactics handout. If you would like that, give me your business card and I will send it through to you. Number 4, conceding, not trading. How am I going for time?
No idea.
Yeah, okay, I'll keep going. Right answer. Okay, terrific. Conceding, not trading. Quite often in negotiations, and this is especially so of parents with children and magnified by the power of 10 when you're dealing with teenagers. Our kids ask us for something and we say yes or no. Most of the time, we're saying yes. But we're not asking for anything in return. That's conceding. And it's the same in negotiation. And conceding rather than trading starts right at the beginning. So when somebody phones you up and says, can we meet about whatever? Well, here's a conversation that's going to lead to a negotiation. But the negotiation starts before you meet them. It starts right there and then with that conversation. Yeah, sure, we can meet, as long as it's on a Wednesday. See, now we're trading. They want to meet. I'm happy to meet, but it's got to be a Wednesday. So they've got to trade the Wednesday. So this is a psychological ploy. Because if you just say, oh yeah, what time would suit you? What day would suit you? and you're just going yes, 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 you're setting up a pattern of acceptance here, and they're going to be mightily pissed off when you sit down and try to negotiate with them, because so far you've just said yes to everything. So always trade. So if your teenager wants to go to a party on the weekend, sure, provided you mow the lawns on Sunday. Trade. A thing happens with trading that is psychologically critical. When people start to realise when they ask you for something, you ask for something in return, they stop asking you for stuff, right? So they only ask you for the stuff that's really important because they don't want to give anything away. So if you find that you're constantly saying yes to people and you're wondering why they keep asking you to do more and more, it's your fault because you keep saying yes. Trade, don't concede. Takes discipline, and you've got to understand what currency is involved. Most of us are used to trading in dollars and cents, but time is a very valuable trading commodity. There's all sorts of trading commodities that have validity in a negotiation. Failing to explore options is sin number 5. This is where we go into a negotiation thinking it's about one thing. It's never about just one thing. It's going to be about lots of things. But if you just focus on the one thing and you can't get agreement, well, so too bad for that relationship, because people now think you're a bastard because you won't agree with them. But if you've got 4 or 5 things that you can talk about, so somebody might say to me, Dennis, I'd like to talk to you about the Expos. Yeah, sure. What do you want to find out about the Expos? And they'll give me a list of things that they want to find out about the Expos. And then they'll say to me, well, I can't do it for the $480 that you're going to charge. How would $380 be? And I say, well, okay, so you want to come along to the Expos, but you only want to pay $380. That's right. Okay, so if you can't get that, what would your fallback be? See, I'm asking them to tell me what's the range here. And they might tell me 2 or 3 different things. Well, okay, we can have a conversation around those 2 or 3 things and then come back to the price. But if we just focus on the price, there's no way that we can get around that. So always explore options in negotiation. 80% of your negotiation should be like a chat. You're finding out stuff about them, they're finding stuff out about you. This is hard currency. Information rules in negotiation. The more information about them you have, the more strength you've got in your position to be able to come up with an outcome that both of you are going to be happy with. And finally, number 6, not confirming understanding. So when we say, so we got a deal? Yeah, let's shake on it, great. That's fabulous, but do you know what the deal means in their head? Because they might be agreeing to something that you have no clue about, but you will find out a little bit later. So always confirm what your understanding of what everybody's saying yes is, and please, where it's going to be an ongoing relationship, always send them an email saying, hey, Ryan, great to meet with you today. Here's what we've agreed. I'm going to do this, you're going to do that. Looking forward to working with you. Now, if Ryan has a problem with any of that, he'll be straight on the blower saying, hey, just a minute, or he'll send me an email saying, look, point 4, no, I didn't agree to that. That's okay, we can talk about that. But if you try and talk about it a month later when nothing was in writing, nobody's memory is that good. And that's where we get disagreement and conflict. So always confirm, never assume that they're agreeing to what you've proposed, and repeat back your understanding. Try to confirm that in writing. Doesn't need to be a signed contract. 90% of negotiations don't result in contracts, but having something in writing stops selective memory from happening. So that's the 6 sins. I could go on a lot more. I've condensed this down. I used to run a full day workshop on this stuff, so I've condensed it down into a little bit over 10 minutes. Hope you got something out of it. As I say, if you want those tactics sheets, just give me a business card, I'll send it through to you. Thank you.
Thank you.